constant. Means, what I mean to say, suppose, say, if this is the case, then how we express marginal utility? Marginal utility of a particular commodity, say X. Suppose you are ready to pay 5 rupee for a particular unit of a particular commodity at a particular point in time. Suppose a glass of water, in our example, you are ready to pay 5 rupee. How you express it? This is nothing but marginal utility of X is equal to Px, means 5 rupee you are ready to pay, the price you are ready to pay. This is not the market price, remember. This is the price you are ready to pay at a particular point in time. In this case, in our example, suppose for a glass of water, you are ready to pay 5 rupees. So Px represents here 5. This is the amount you are ready to pay multiplied by each, and as I say that each and every 1 rupee coin will have some utility that is represented by marginal utility of money. And what the approach says, marginal utility of money remain constant. It says marginal utility of money remain constant. So it will be some value called marginal utility of money. This is a constant value, marginal utility of money. So in that way, marginal utility of X or any commodity can be expressed. Is the amount you are ready to pay multiplied by a constant value, marginal utility of money. This is for X. But if it is for another commodity, suppose Y, then it will be marginal utility of Y equal to Py. This is the price you are ready to pay multiplied by marginal utility of money. If you simplify both the case, then what kind of relationship you will get it? Like what you may get it? You may get it marginal utility of X, suppose, by marginal utility of Y. Sorry, marginal utility of Y equal to just a minute. Marginal utility of Y equal to Px by Py. Or rather you express it in other way. Suppose what I did is I am bringing Px as a denominator. Marginal utility of X by, suppose, Px equal to marginal utility of money equal to, for second equation, marginal utility of Y by Py. Now, if I consider in your consumption basket, if I consider two commodities together, you remember the case, I made it complicated last time. As long as marginal utility of a particular unit of a particular commodity is using that one, because consumer always try to maximize his or her utility. The moment marginal utility of two commodity become equal, so if you simplify in other way, what you can do is, what you can get it, marginal utility of marginal utility of Y equal to Px by Py. You can write it in that way. Px by Py is equal to a constant value, marginal utility of money, you can say. This is a marginal constant value, we assumed it. But for two commodities, we may get this kind of relationship. The meaning here is that as long as marginal utility of a particular commodity is more than a marginal commodity of another commodity, you will go on purchasing without any difficulties. But the moment when marginal utility of a particular unit is equal to another unit of another commodity, you are supposed to be indifferent. That is called law of equimarginal utility. Means marginal utility become equal. Law of equimarginal utility. The moment marginal utility of two commodities is equal, you are supposed to be indifferent. You cannot take a decision. But as long as marginal utility is not equal, easily you can purchase. If you have purchasing power, means if you have money, if you have resource. So this is one way of expressing your one way of expressing your law of equimarginal utility. In that way, you can express it. Law of equimarginal utility. That's saying that as long as marginal utility of a particular commodity, unit of a particular commodity is higher than another unit of another commodity, obviously if it is same commodity, it follow law of diminishing marginal utility, no question. It is very simple. Possibility may arise when marginal utility of a particular unit of a particular commodity is equal to another unit of another commodity. Then you are supposed to be indifferent. Okay. So make sure that you are keeping your system in mute form. Why should I do it? Now, what I said last class, one of that assumption is that it follow constant marginal utility of money. Marginal utility of money remain same. This is one of the assumption of cardinal measure of utility. Now, the problem here is, if you consider money, some two students ask me some question related, and I say that next class automatically it will be clear, because you can consider money just like any other commodity. It is also having different unit. Then if it is just like any other commodity, it is supposed to follow law of diminishing marginal utility, that particular law. That assumption it is supposed to follow. But it assume another assumption that it follow constant marginal utility of money. So that is a clear violation, because the other group means ordinalist or our ordinal measure or ordinal approach of measuring utility believe that money is just like any other commodity. I'm now discussing ordinal measure. Okay. Ordinal measure of utility. Or ordinal approach, which assume that utility is qualitative. Now, they argue that if money is just like any other commodity, then it is supposed to follow law of diminishing marginality. Means when you will have more unit of money, just like any other commodity, one satisfying power of each and every unit is supposed to decrease. But the assumption in cardinal measure assume that it follow constant marginal utility of money. So the other group believe and say that this is a clear violation. Because of that, we cannot measure utility in quantitative term. Rather, they say that no, you can measure utility in relative term. Relative term means greater than or less than that approach. Okay, or higher than or less than means to have that kind of approach or to measure utility in that way, you have to have minimum two commodity. You have to have minimum two commodity. Okay, then only it will be possible for you to compare. For comparison, you need minimum two commodities. Suppose commodity A and B. Suppose because in real life, in your consumption basket, there are plenty of items. This is not only one item. There may be n number of items. At a sudden or at a particular point in time, it may happen that you might be making a comparison and accordingly you are taking a decision that which one to purchase first. You are preparing your preference list based on what? Based on your urgency for a particular commodity to consume or to possess. So basically, or behind the scene, you are basically making a comparison, and accordingly, you are taking a decision. Based on that one only, your preference list is prepared. So here also, just like cardinal measure, here also it is based upon certain assumptions, and some of these assumptions are common, like rationality. In ordinal measure also, they assume that consumer must be a rational human being. Your decision must be rational. This is one. Second is your non-satiety, means consumer is yet to attain the level of saturation. Means consumer is looking for more unit of that particular commodity. These are common assumptions, like limited money income. Consumer is having a limited resources or money income is limited. Because if it is unlimited, as I said already, earlier also I repeated, that then you will not look for utility maximizing activities. You may not have, because you have unlimited resource. Anytime you can have or you can possess. But in this case, you are having limited resource. Because of that, preference is coming into picture. So these are the common assumptions. But as I already said, in ordinal measure, to have it, you have to have minimum two commodities. In real life, it may be a number of commodities in your consumption basket, as I already said. Because of that, some of the new assumptions are coming into picture. Okay, besides your some of these common assumptions, like your rationality, consumer is yet to attain the level of saturation, then limited money income or limited resource, something like that. One is transitivity. Transitivity means, as you know, if A is preferred over, you already know it in mathematics, these are very common things. Say A is preferred over B and B is preferred over, suppose C. A is preferred over B and B is preferred over C. Then automatically A will be preferred over C. Okay. This is by default, this is there. So this transitivity it follows. Another is, it follows diminishing rate of substitution. Law of diminishing rate of substitution means what happened, I am going to explain. It follows law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution and rate of substitution. Before going to that discussing, let me explain you some other things. Suppose, hypothetically, I assumed a situation. Suppose you are consuming two commodities. Okay, X and Y. You are consuming two commodities. You can argue with me also that no, in my consumption basket or in real life, each and every day I am consuming or at a particular point in time. Suppose I am consuming or possessing. You may possess also. It is not like that every time you have to consume only. But you can assume it in that way. But so there is a possibility that there may be many more commodities you may consume or possess at a particular point in time. Then same thing, but then it will be multidimensional in nature. You have to explain in that way. It will not be any more two-dimensional. So in this case, for your simple explanation, I'm considering only two dimension, x and y. And I assume that suppose, hypothetically, suppose z is the dimension that represents your satisfaction level, suppose. Because when you are consuming x and y, two commodities, suppose. So in a particular plane, suppose x and y, first quadrant, suppose. So there are, suppose, n different items. Okay, n different items. So you are getting a lot of different points. So remember, each and every point here represents a particular combination of x and y. Each and every point represents here a particular combination of x and y that you are consuming or possessing. And when you will consume or possess, when you are consume or possess, you will generate some utility, you will generate some wellness. Okay, you may have some well-being because of consumption or possessing of x and y. Okay, that might be representing by your z-axis. That level is measured, your utility level or satisfaction level is measured by z, suppose. So indirectly, what I can say that each and every point represents or generates some level of satisfaction. Okay, combination of x and y. Suppose x is suppose rice and y is wheat flour. Suppose in my day-to-day life, I used to consume suppose rice as well as chapati, and because of that, I use wheat flour or something like that. So two commodities are there. There may be extreme case also, x and y value. Some consumer may consume only x, then you will get some point in x on x-axis. Some consumer may even consume only y. That possibility is also there. I'm not denying. But in general, there may be a possibility that some consumer or most of these consumer may consume a combination of x and y. It may be not equal quantity, but it may be different combination, but they might be. But when there are n different points, what I say that when there are n different points, when there are n different points, then there may be a few consumption combination points, maybe like what I said, x and y. X is suppose rice, y is suppose wheat flour or something. Suppose one point is here that represents a particular combination of x and y and x, suppose some value, and that will generate some level of utility. Suppose point A, suppose that represents a particular combination of x and y. I'm talking about at individual level. There may be another combination. Suppose this is, suppose here value of y is suppose 7. Suppose 7 kg of wheat flour and 3 kg of rice. Another point might be there. Suppose one point is here. Suppose another point is there, which represents maybe suppose this is 5 and this is another point is there that represents your 5, suppose. Another point might be there. Okay, say this represents your suppose 5 and this represents suppose 4. and this is suppose 6, suppose they are hypothetical value. 3 points I represent here. And it may happen only difference is that, so this is A, this is suppose B, this is suppose C. Three combination. There may be many more. When there are n different points, suppose it may happen that in these 3 points, combination of x and y is different. But for me, what I feel, I may be indifferent in terms of generation of utility. Means any of these combination I am ready to take because I feel that quantity of x and y is changing in each and every among these ABC, but they might be, for me, I may feel in that way that they might be generating same level of satisfaction. When I am at A, I am having 7 kg of y and 3 kg of x, but when I am at B, y is represent certain quantity of y is represent substituted by x. So I am having less quantity of y, 5, and I am having say more quantity of x, another 5. So between A and B, I am indifferent. I may ready to choose any combination of x and y between A, B, and C. It may happen. Only quantity of x and y may different, but I am ready to take. When there are n different points, there may be a possibility of having such kind of few points where a consumer may be indifferent in terms of generation of utility. Combination of x and y may be different, but he or she feels that all the combination is having same preference to him. He or she feels that these combinations are generating same level of utility. Because of that, the consumer is ready to choose any of these combinations. He may be indifferent. If this is the case, and I am joining those points, suppose I will get a curve. I am getting a curve. What I am doing it, I am joining only those points where I feel that I am indifferent. So here I identified 3 points, but in between also there may be a few points where I may feel that I am indifferent. So accordingly, you are getting a curve. This curve is doing what? This curve is joining only those points where I feel that I am indifferent. Because of that, this curve is called indifference curve. This curve is called indifference curve.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Like the consumer is feeling indifferent among the among the combinations A, B, and C because the total commodity which the consumer is getting is 10, right? In every
No,
case.
not necessarily. Not necessarily. Here you might be okay. You are combining A and B and assuming that always it has to be 10. Because of that, you are indifferent. It is not like that. It is not like that. Just a minute. It is not like that because it is just like your feeling. So I'm making it a different value to avoid that confusion. What I am doing it, I'm making it a 7, suppose. Okay, not necessarily that it has to be equal, because commodity X and commodity Y is different. So although I say that it is 3 kg and 7 kg, sometimes it may be 3 liter and another commodity may be even 7 kg. Unit may be altogether even different because two commodities are different. Okay, it is just purely your feeling. Okay, and different unit of different commodity is having different satisfying power. 1 kg of a particular commodity may have different satisfying power in comparison to for another commodities, say 100 unit of that commodity is suppose 100 in number, suppose. So altogether it may be different, not necessarily that always, but for your simple understanding, I use the word probably that kg or rice and wheat both are having same unit. In that way you can think about, but wheat, each and every unit of wheat flour is having different one satisfying power, not necessarily that always out quantity has to be same. It is not like that. As you are joining those points where you are indifferent, you feel that you are not having any difference in terms of level of satisfaction. This is called indifference curve. This is also called iso-utility curve. Iso-utility means along that curve your utility is not changing because you are indifferent. Because along that particular curve your utility is not changing. Combination of x and y may change, but you are indifferent in terms of level of satisfaction. Because of that, it is also called iso-utility curve. Okay, this is one aspect only. Only one aspect only. I am yet it is having, it require a lot of other discussion. Because someone may discuss that, or someone may say that, okay, these are few points. I am joining, I am indifferent. Okay, I understand. So suppose someone may say that, okay, it is 7 kg and x is 3 kg, or I got the point, this one. But someone may say that, okay, I am having more money in comparison to another consumer. So why will I look for 7 kg of y and 3 kg of x? I will go for 10 kg of y and 5 kg of x. Suppose, hypothetically, 10 kg of y and 5 kg of x. Then what will happen? Obviously, you will also have a point where this 10 kg of, suppose 10 kg, suppose I assume, suppose here a point, suppose this is 10, suppose this is a value 10, suppose 10 kg of y and 5 is here, this one. Okay, 5, both are coming and meeting here, suppose. So you are getting a point somewhere here. This represents your 10 kg of y and 5 kg of x. So if this is the case, then obviously you are not in this particular indifference curve for another consumer. Not necessarily that all consumer has to be same, because consumer to consumer purchasing power is different. Utility resource level is different. So do not try to generalize so quickly in that way. Then simple explanation is that for another consumer, if you are having more purchasing power, more in that way, for you also there may be another indifference curve. Or for same consumer, right now he is having this indifference curve, but if his or her purchasing power increase, resource level change, your indifference curve will also change. That possibility is there. So indirectly, what I am telling you, indirectly, I am not drawing it here, but I am using another drawing maybe here. Just a minute. I'm using another, I believe it is visible at least to you. Okay. So actual scenario is that in an indifference map, there are, so my diagram is not very good. There are n number of indifference curves. In an indifference map, there are n number of indifference curves, and they will be parallel to each other. I am going to discuss that aspects, because this indifference curve is follow 4 properties that I am going to discuss. Okay, let me tell you quickly. So in an indifference map, there will be many more indifference curves. And ultimately, I'm telling you beforehand what we are going to do it. Ultimately, from our whole discussion, ultimately we are going to find out only a particular point for a particular consumer. From this whole discussion, ultimately we will try to find out a particular point where he or she is, depending upon his or her budget, where he is going to purchase X and Y. Ultimately, a single point. From whole exercise, we are going to identify only a particular point, depending upon his or her level of resource or money, what he or she is having right now with him, or which he can afford for purchasing X and Y. You have limited money. Ultimately, that limitedness will come into picture anyway. But so, what are the four properties of indifference curve in an indifference curve? One property is that, first property is that it is negatively slow, because we are, you remember, you already observed it, we are talking about substitution between X and Y. It is not a complementary relationship. We are talking about substitution. And why we are talking about substitution? Because behind the scene, although I am yet to explain, behind the scene, actually, I am gradually, what to say, I am gradually moving towards explaining that particular assumption, that diminishing rate of substitution or diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Behind the scene, I am going to explain that particular assumption. Because of that, all these related matters I am discussing it right now. Only because of that one only. Anyway, so it is negatively slope because here we are considering that X can substitute Y or Y can substitute X. Because of that, ultimately we are drawing a negatively sloped curve. It may be a straight line, that is different issue, but we are drawing a negatively slope. So first property of indifference curve is it is negatively sloped. Nothing much to explain. Second property is that it is convex to the origin. It is convex to the origin. Indifference curves are convex to the origin. You already observe in both the diagram. You can follow any books, you will find these four properties. These are very common thing. It is convex to the origin. Okay. Now let's see what happened here. So suppose I move from A to B. I believe you can see the diagram. You move from A to B. When you move from A to B, you substituted Y by del Y1. Just a minute. Let me use another color. Del Y1 amount of Y you substituted when you move from A to B, and in between you see this portion is suppose del X1, suppose del X1. I'm making it bigger so that it become clear. So what is happening when I move from A to B? I substituted del Y amount of Y. That you can find it out, those values. I wrote some values. 7 minus 5, 2 kg. That very simple. And here also 5 minus 3, 2 kg in our example, but not necessarily. Because of that, I use the word del Y1 and del X1, suppose. So ultimately, and when you move from B to C, certain quantity is there. Suppose this is del Y2 and this portion is suppose del X2. Sorry. This portion is suppose del X2. This portion is suppose del X2. And this portion is suppose this portion will be del y2, suppose. In that way, it will go on. Del y1, del x1, del y2, del x2. In that way, it will go on. So, what is the rate of substitution? Rate of substitution can be expressed as del y1 by del x1. It is the rate at which or by which one commodity is substituted by the other. Del y2 by del x2. Another is maybe if you go on in that way, another point may be here. C, suppose this is point D, suppose. Then this will be del x3 and this portion will be del y3. So del y3, which I didn't draw, I didn't write it here, but this portion, y portion, del y3 by del x3. From that diagram, it is very, very clear what is happening. Value of x in succeeding period is increasing. You see, compare del x1 by del x3. This value is quite high. When denominator value is quite high, even if you assume each and every case, suppose equal quantity of y you are substituting, suppose del y1, del y2, del y3, suppose equal, it may not be equal also, whatever it is the case. When denominator is too high, what will happen? What will happen to the value? The value will decrease. So if value is decreasing, what kind of relationship you will get? You will get this kind of relationship. This represents what? Del y by del x1 or del x1 by del y in reverse way. If you measure the rate of substitution, you will get del x1 by del y1 in that way, whatever it is. So in this case, del y by del x1 represents your marginal rate of substitution. It is the rate by which one commodity is substituted by the other. And in this case, what is happening? This value, this ratio, what is called marginal rate of substitution, MRS. MRS, in this case, MRS is del y by del x1, del x. Del y by del x represents MRS, marginal rate of substitution. Okay? You can write also MRS, marginal rate of substitution, is equal to, actually, in this case, suppose del y by or del y by del x, suppose. This is your MRS, marginal rate of substitution. This MRS value in succeeding case, from A to B, B to C, C to D, in succeeding case, this MRS value is decreasing. What that assumption says? Assumption says that it follows law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Marginal rate of substitution is decreasing. And in our discussion also, it fulfill that assumption. It fulfilled that assumption. And in our diagram also, that diagram shows that marginal rate of substitution is decreasing. From your diagram also, it is quite clear, and that is fulfilling when it will fulfill. If you draw the indifference curve convex to the origin, then only it will be fulfilled. So the assumption says that, or the property, second properties of indifference curve is that it is convex to the origin. In an indifference curve, there may be many more indifference curve, but they are convex to the origin because it follows law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Clear? Do you have any doubt? Quickly.
Sir, what if there are no like there are more than two commodities or less than two commodities? How will we interpret MRS?
It will not less than three commodities. How come you talk about not less than three now? not less than 2 commodities. Minimum you have to have 2 commodities. If it is 3 commodity, it will be multidimensional, 3-dimensional graph, it may be. It will be much more complex. I am not saying it is not complex. It will be much more complex, but it is like that. You are substituting. In this case, you are considering only one commodity. You are substituting X by Y or Y for X. Okay, now what I am going to discuss is basically you are talking about your satisfaction level. You are identifying certain points where you feel that you generate same level of satisfaction. If it is a 3 commodity, there will be 3 plus 1 dimension. 1 dimension will represent level of satisfaction. Okay, that particular point will represent your satisfaction level because of consumption or possession of 3 commodity. It will move in that way. Any other question? Because something more is there to explain quickly because time is going out. Okay, let me explain one more thing. I believe you can see the diagram. Now, any question? Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir?
Quickly.
Sir, is the indifference curve, sir, is it representing the purchasing power of the individual, the indifference curve?
Indifference curve is not living power.
No, sir, is it depending on the purchasing power of the individual or like
No. I am yet to do not jump into that one because I am yet to bring here your budget line or budget constraints. I am just discussing the possibility. Sorry, I am yet to bring here the possibility that how much money is there with you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
That is
one indifference curve will always be unique to one consumer, right?
One indifference curve is unique to one consumer.
Like one line, one particular line
represents only one preference level, one utility level. Okay.
It may be of more than one consumer.
Yes, even for you, I am asking you a question, suppose. So when you are having 2 commodities, you are ready to spend after X and Y. Suppose you are a consumer, you are ready to pay, say, 100 rupee after X and Y. That's fine. You will purchase some combination. Okay. And there may be some alternative also. Now, if you are having 500 rupee, will you be in same point? In all probability, 500 is available for purchasing X and Y. Behind the scene, other assumptions are also there that you are yet to attain the level of saturation and so. Means you are looking for more quantity of X and Y. Right now, you are restricting yourself with 100 rupee because 100 rupees is the available amount with you for purchasing X and Y. But tomorrow, if you get more money, you will spend more money after X and Y. Obviously, your level or quantity of X and Y under your possession or consumption will go up. Even same individual, along with change in income, he or she will move. Do not jump into that one. You are jumping, many of you are thinking about only budget line, this and your income. That I will bring it after some time, not immediately. Okay. Now, what I want to discuss here quickly before it over is your just a minute, I forgot it actually. I was supposed to discuss this one. Okay, yeah, I remember. What is there? Think about the diagram. This is clear, quite clear. Another way of interpretation. Same diagram, another way of interpretation. When you move from A to B, B to C, C to D, what is happening here? same explanation from another angle. I am doing it quickly if you like to respond. When you move from A to B, B to C, C to D, what is happening? Under your possession, yeah, quick. With you will undervalue it. And when Y is decreasing, Y becoming more and more valuable. Y will becoming more and more valuable. Because of that, what is happening here, ultimately a point will come when you are no more interested to sacrifice any quantity of Y. Gradually you are sacrificing Y for X. But a point will come beyond that, you are no more interested to sacrifice any quantity of Y. Unlimited quantity of X to replace a small quantity of Y, you will demand an unlimited quantity of X. That is going to happen. Reverse way, also you can explain it. Under your position, X become plenty. So one satisfying power of each and every succeeding unit of X will decrease, because this is a human nature. You remember yesterday's or day before yesterday's my class that glasses of water, when you are moving towards saturation, you are even someone might be after some time becoming freely available this water. Then also you are not ready to take. It's something like that. And here I usually give the example of your tiger. If tigers are, forget about its ferocious activity, if number of tigers are just like our buffalo or goats or something like that, they are moving or roaming here and there, will you go spend so much money and go to a zoo or a national park to see a tiger? As tiger is number is depleting, we declared it endangered, crores of rupees we are spending just to protect it. Because its value is decreasing, we are valuing it more and more. Number is decreasing, we are valuing it more and more. But if its number is just like goat or just like your cow or something like that, it's moving in here and there, you will not bother about. Same is the case, it's a human behavior. Okay, I'm leaving you. I'm having another class. If you if you have, because two other properties are there, quickly I will discuss it in next class. Okay, let me save it first. Okay, this one is saved, and let me download the attendance list. Okay, it's downloaded, I believe. So you can leave now, and I'm also leaving.
Thank you, sir.